We're a very welcoming show. So.
You are. You're probably the most friendly presenter that I know now.
So that's not true.
That is true.
Oh,
so what's the first story up, Numpty?
There we go. Come on, Cass.
No,
we love it,
Cass,
don't we? Should we talk about Jordan Henderson? He's got a new autobiography out, and he's done an exclusive interview with Ollie Holt in the Mail this morning. Talks about some of the good times in his career at Liverpool, why they're struggling this season. But the bit that I found interesting, guys, was him talking about the constant battle to prove himself at Liverpool. He says in his interview, some people have wanted me out of here from the day I arrived, and now is no different. I prefer it when I have my doubters. Everyone's got different opinions about football, but some opinions you hear, they seem quite extreme, and you think, bloody hell. Ollie says about Jordan Henderson, the rage to prove people wrong consumes him. He's always felt like he is fighting a battle for respect. In his obsession with modesty, he even underestimates himself sometimes. I remember, guys, a couple of years after Jordan Henderson joined Liverpool, I remember being in Liverpool and I got a Liverpool top and I had Henderson on the back of it. And I remember from maybe 6 family members that were in the room, they all laughed at me and mocked me for getting Henderson on the back when at the times I could have had, Suarez or Sturridge or Gerrard. But I'm quite proud that he went on captain the football club.
You knew the potential.
Yeah, but Cass, the early days, certainly in Liverpool, he's got a point. A lot of people didn't think he was good enough for the football club, and to go on and do what he's achieved, I think is quite remarkable and a really nice story.
I spoke to Noel Quinn when he was the chairman of Sunderland. He had Jordan. He was the guy that eventually sold him to Liverpool. And I asked him, about his qualities, because I've seen him play, but I wanted to get an in-depth look at him, or just an idea of what Noel thought of him, watching him week in, week out. He said he's not good enough for Liverpool, but he will be.
Right.
Meaning his attitude is exemplary and he'll work as hard as he can. Now, you're obviously going to a football club where Gerrard was dominating, so you're always going to be compared to Gerrard. Then he was compared when he goes away with England. I think Jordan's done exceptional in his career, and I still think he plays a big part in England this World Cup. I know he's had injuries this year, but he's a player you can rely on. You can trust him in a lot of things. And he's always been a bit of a scapegoat, unfortunately. He's carried that can.
I agree. I always think there was a period where I think when people talked about Jordan Henderson, the only praise they wanted to give him was that he worked really hard. He ran around the pitch. And that, he used to get a lot of criticism.
Obvious.
That's a good thing. But I think he used to get a lot of criticism that he'd only pass the ball sideways. And I always thought that was incredibly unfair. I think his actual ability cast on the ball as well. I think he never, ever, ever got credit for being a brilliant ball-playing midfielder. You say there he's got a role to play. Do you think that's on the pitch as well as off the pitch?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I still do. I think he'll play a part in the World Cup because you can trust him to do things, and people play better when Jordan... Liverpool have suffered, and he's carried a number of injuries this year, and Liverpool have suffered in their own midfield.
And
I was just going to quickly say, when you look at the players that when he signed for Liverpool back in 2011, the players that were signed alongside him, you've got Charlie Adam in there, you've got Donny, you've got Stuart Downing, there's also Sebastian Coates, Jose Enrique, I should say, and Craig Bellamy. And when you go on to think about, not to disrespect their careers in any way, of course, but I mean, how fantastic a job Jordan Henderson has done to have been ever consistent as he's now gone on to be, and just that reliable player in that Liverpool midfield.
Absolutely.
I think full credit to him.
One player in the Liverpool midfield this season who perhaps is struggling a little bit is Fabinho, and there's a piece in the Observer on Fabinho this morning. Out of gas, Fabinho has become a symbol of Liverpool's decline. The Anfield mainstay is in clear need of a rest with Klopp's leg he scored, crying out for some fresh faces. To put it bluntly, he has been poor, consistently failing to provide the deep-lying midfield security that has been a hallmark of his display since he arrived from Monaco 4 years ago. Klopp has been quoted on Fabinho in the piece. He says, players have dips and you solve it by playing less often. But Fab has had to play through everything. He hasn't been at his best this season. Cass, why do you think that is?
He suffered, the team has suffered, and he suffered. Hold it, not so long ago, Ronaldo, Fabinho and Henderson were the engine room of Liverpool. They won the ball, the dogs of war, going to get the ball all the time. And he excelled in that. And Thiago's in there, an unbelievable talented player, but can never do the quality defending and winning the ball back that Henderson and Wijnaldum done for Liverpool. And I think it's come at a price for Fabinho. I really do. And he has struggled. I'm not denying he's not struggled. He has. But he's been isolated way too often because there's holes in Liverpool's midfield.
Liverpool at Spurs today now, of course, aren't they? Some Matt Doherty has been speaking with some of the papers today ahead of the big game. I'll read this from the People. Harry Pratt says Matt Doherty reckons the constant complaints about Tottenham this season is plain wrong. The outside negativity surrounding Conte's high flyers hit new levels in midweek as online critics slaughtered the team before they came from behind to win 2-1 in Marseille and finish top of their Champions League group. Doherty has said, I don't think we have been as bad as some people are saying. People were just jumping on the bandwagon. We are through in the Champions League, top of our group and third in the Premier League. It's just the way these games have unravelled. It's not like we are set up to allow these things to happen. As a non-Spurs fan looking in, do you think that some of the criticism that's come their way in terms of the style has been a bit harsh, or was it fair?
I kind of think it's fair, only because of when you have a full fit Tottenham side, they have some really exciting players, especially the attacking players that they've got, and you feel as though they've not really been allowed to loosen the shackles, and we haven't necessarily seen the best of them. That being said, look where, like you've just pointed out, look what they have achieved so far this season. Some of their performances have been underwhelming and have been flat, and they've lost some games that they'll be disappointed about, no doubt. But ultimately you can't grumble where they are because they're getting results done. So there is still a team ethic in there to grind out results if they're not playing well. But I still think it's fair to criticise them because I think there's more that you expect from Spurs.
Oh, absolutely. The first 45 minutes of Marseille, it could have been a dreadful week for Spurs. They were 2-0 down at Bournemouth, ended up turning it around, full credit, but manager made changes, saw where he'd gone wrong, played Bentancur at Marseille further up the pitch for the second half. They were terrible at Marseille. They could have easily have lost that and been knocked out of the Champions League. Now, if everyone criticising people for saying how bad they were, well, the manager made changes. So he recognised they'd made changes. He could maybe start with an idea of being a bit bolder in his approach in the first 45 minutes because they have, as Natalie said, they've got loads of quality players. There's a huge amount of quality in that team, not to be more of a attack-minded side.
How do you see it going today, Cass?
Well, Liverpool can be beaten by anybody at the minute, so I'm saying the same what I've said for the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Do you know what I wanted to ask you? Because Cass has a thing about headlines, and headline for the papers.
All right, headline bingo, you mean?
Yeah, your headline bingo. I think you'd give this a very low score. Matt spurred on by Supercoach. Spurred on, Spurs spurred on. I mean, it's lazy. Isn't
That's
no, it's just, you know what it is?
Really easy.
Harry Pratt, Natalie Sawyer's coming after you.
Well,
this
he wouldn't
morning.
have written that though. In his defence, he wouldn't have written that.
Well, whoever the editor of the Sunday People
Matt
is,
in the
Matt's
dock.
coming off.
Matt, you see what I mean?
I thought of that in 5 seconds.
Yeah. Very critical, calling me a numpty, now digging out newspaper editors. Who writes your headlines in your piece in the Times?
I don't try. The headlines are not important. I don't like headlines to an
That's what he
article. I don't
actually
like them.
No, I was just asking who does your headlines for you.
I don't. But I don't really like the idea of a headline because I think some of it is just pathetic.
Yeah. It's what's about inside the piece, isn't it? The words that have come out of your mouth.
That's it. It's about the content.
It could be very misleading, right? That's my problem.